Yeah. Let me drop exclusive game from my exclusive mind. You be out here chasing fame, I stay steady on my grind. Zero diamonds, zero.
Thank you for tapping into the Exclusive Minds podcast. Today we're going to be having an exclusive conversation with exclusive content from Exclusive Minds. I'm your host, Rook, and
Joe.
Let's get right into it.
Yo. Welcome back. We are on episode 55. I think I got it right this time without having to
right.
take a pause and think, because it's only been like
A week.
Yeah. So we're like rocking now all of a sudden.
We're rocking, and I told you, Joe tried to call out my bluff this morning, and then here I am.
I know.
I showed up.
Yeah. You did. It's funny. You did FaceTime me on Friday, and I don't know why I didn't get it. So I don't know.
Yeah.
It's probably sleeping or something.
Probably sleeping because you're an old, senile, old man.
Bastard. Oh,
Yeah.
Old, dirty bastard.
I was saying, man, you said bastard, but all right, whatever.
Old
man.
ODB, right?
Yeah,
Old, dirty bastard.
Something like that.
What was that from?
Old Dirty Bastard?
Yeah, well, is that like a...
I don't know what that's from, but I know like at my school there was the Wi-Fi was called Cowboys old. What the fuck? It was something similar to what you just said. It was like no place for old cowboys or something like that.
Yeah.
Something weird. It was like a movie reference. I didn't understand.
I know there's like so many things. Old dirty bastard. That's going to drive me. Oh, that's Austin Powers. That's the big fat dude.
This guy?
No. In the very first Austin Powers, who was the dude who's the real big fat guy?
I never watched Austin Powers.
Holy shit. Anyway, I mean, I could spend I have a phone here. I could probably Google it and say old dirty bastard. I think that was it. He played like the Scottish dude who's like super heavy. He's the villain in Austin Powers.
Someone's probably like, oh, it's this guy. We don't know who the fuck it is. But sure. So,
yeah.
Happy Memorial Day.
No, you don't say Happy Memorial Day. It's
Merry Memorial
Day. No, well,
is it not merry? Not happy.
You give your thanks to those that have served and sacrificed their lives for this country.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's not a not a true celebration holiday per se.
Really?
No, it's Memorial Day. You're memorializing.
Well, I called Apple before I came over here because lately I've been getting some charges, and I don't want to spend too long because it's really boring. But there's been charges on my account that's been popping up for the past month. And I sent them a text message because I figured that they were closed today. And sure enough, they weren't closed today. And I spent an hour on the phone with these bastards because they couldn't refund it to me. And it was just like a whole loop. They directed me to 3 different people. It's like so funny. Like the first person that I talked to is like, oh, let me get you to my manager. And then the person above him was like, oh, let me go to another person. You have to go to 3 different people before the third person was like, oh, you have to contact PayPal. So I spent an hour on the phone just for them to say, you have to go to PayPal.
PayPal. Oh, that's how you pay your. So what is this, like a subscription thing that's like
I don't know, dude.
sort of showing up?
It's actually insane. It just says Apple billing, and then it'll say automatic payment, and then they looked it up on their end. There's nothing on their end, so it's just probably PayPal charging me for something that I.
So Apple's not even charging you?
But it says Apple bills or Apple services.
Whoa, that's okay.
That's some scary stuff, right?
So PayPal is charging you something called Apple that isn't really Apple charging you.
Apple's numbers on that thing. It's on that ticket. So it's like, unless it's like some sort of like elaborate scheme, bro, I'm already down like $120 just based off of this one subscription this month.
Holy mackerel.
Yeah, 1 month alone.
That's like the ultimate
pyramid scheme here. I don't know
what's going on. Yeah, constantly just doing a little drip from you. You don't notice it for like a year, and the next thing you know, do that over a couple 100,000 people, and you got like $1 billion in your bank.
Yeah, well, I noticed it last week. I called them, and they're like, well, we opened a case for you. And then today I woke up, and it said Apple services on my PayPal notifications. I was like, these son of a bitches, bro. It wasn't that. No, yeah. So long story short, we'll see. I have to contact PayPal. But PayPal's such a fucking fishy business, bro. I call them, and it sounds like a call center, like a scammer call center. I could hear so much noise in the background and shit like that. It freaks me out. They start asking me for my social security number. I just hang up on them, bro.
Because half of those call centers aren't dedicated to one company, right? So
yeah, it's like a contract, right?
Oh, it pops up on their screen in India, and it says, "Oh, you're now working for PayPal. Oh, you're now working for Ford Motor Company."
Yeah,
right?
I'm not doing that shit, bro.
Yeah, PayPal's probably not easy to get a hold of too.
PayPal's not easy. So what I did was I'm starting to email them. So we'll see if anything good comes from an email.
Well, that's right, because it's a debit card. So you could probably go to your bank and say this is fraudulent.
So I called Apple, called my bank, called PayPal. This was all last week. Everyone's directing me now back to PayPal. So my bank doesn't want nothing to do with it because they don't care. It's not their money. It's my money. If it was a credit card, they'd be, oh, we got to get this.
Because it's a debit card.
It's a debit card.
So they're just,
right.
you're right. It isn't their money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That sucks.
So that's just the situation.
So fun. And the fun.
Sorry for starting this up by just bitching, bro. But, I had to get that out there. Holy. But,
So I want to talk about one of our previous favorite topics, which is Yeezy. I'm actually excited. It's funny. I mean, I have like these things, and obviously, I think everybody knows that Yeezy's been kind of kicked off of Adidas, but apparently, Adidas was sitting on $1 billion in inventory.
They were,
and now we know what that inventory is, right? Because they posted on the confirmed app that there's basically like 16 different shoes that they're going to now try and move on. Now, it's funny, right? I'm obviously pretty excited because, at least it gives me a shot to get a couple more pairs of Yeezys before they, vanish from existence.
Yeah.
And there's a couple, like the black ones. I'd love to get a second pair of black ones just because I'm wearing the shit out of them now.
The black ones look good, and the ones with the orange stripe look good.
Yeah. And they're both coming up on May 31st.
And, I always wanted a pair of those foam runners. The
blue slides are nice.
Not my thing.
You're not a Crocs guy?
I am a Crocs guy. I just like I think I would go with the more bulkier.
Yeah, so if you go onto the Adidas confirmed app, what is it? Actually, it's 14, 15 pairs of shoes.
Yeah, it looks good.
And I guess they're slowly going to release these. They're doing the first two V350s.
So you think they brought him back in to like promote it?
No.
So they're just doing it all themselves.
I think that they had these in the pipeline, and they actually, Adidas has such volume, right? They have to build months and months and months in advance. So
this was before.
This apparently was all shoes that they had built or made, and were going to release over a schedule for the first half of this year. And this all happened before he went apeshit crazy. So they were like, when they canceled the relationship, they were like, this is what they were talking about. Like, do we burn these shoes? Do we just destroy them? And I guess what they're deciding to do is they're going to release these shoes, and then the profits are going to go to certain charities. And
that's what I saw. Yeah, that's what I texted you about.
Well, so, God, here's the other thing that drives me batshit crazy, right? Obviously, one of the charities is the Jewish Defense League, which makes sense because the reason
everything
they
that
hacked
happened
them was all anti-Semitic. So, okay, that one makes sense. The other big one is, I don't even know what the hell it's called. I'm trying to see if it doesn't. It's the family of George Floyd. I guess they've got some sort of whatever charity, and so a lot of the funds are going to that. And I'm like, haven't people like had enough of the whole BLM thing now that that's completely gone off the rails and bankruptcy, and they're the kimono's full open about how that was just a freaking grift.
Yeah, well, I thought didn't they have like some sort of I don't know if I want to call it a scam or some sort of scandal.
BLM was a scam. Period. It was a total grift.
So I want to know there's a bunch of things like what Twitter says versus what the media says. Like the media will say how great it is, but then on Twitter you'll go on there and they're like, you find out that they're paying the one brother like $1 million to be like a janitor or something like that, or some sort of like a delivery service.
I mean, God, there's a whole thing, man. I mean, you go to the bankruptcy thing, it spells it out, right? They just declared bankruptcy, right?
Right. Okay.
I think they had pulled in $10 million, and now they're declaring bankruptcy, and you start to look at it, and it's like the brother or the brother-in-law, or I don't know the specifics, but look it up, right? I mean, the brother-in-law was hired as like security.
That's what it was.
Without having any security experience at all, right? And they paid him like $900,000 a year for no experience. And there were others in her family, or Patrice Everett. There's a whole bunch in the family that have no experience, and they're getting paid like wretched money.
So I guess the counter, and to play devil's advocate, and I guess to play the counter of that would be like, oh, well, their brother died. They should get a little bit of something, right? So like, what?
That's not how it works.
That's not how it works.
Get what? I mean, they're suing the state, right, or city, or whoever, right? The city. So I mean, that's if they deserve money, they'll get it from the city, right? They'll sue the city, right? So
you're saying it's two different claims. Like one should be a claim.
Well, I'm not saying anything. What I'm saying is they apparently, the brother of George Floyd and his family formed this quote unquote charity or charitable organization that's supposed to be doing, I don't know, whatever it is, right? It's diversity and equity kind of stuff. And for all I know, it could be completely legit. It just kind of strikes me as
coming
off BLM declaring bankruptcy, and
what you said makes sense though. Like to the point of it should be two different issues. Like if the charity is called a charity, do the things for the charity. But if you want to also like get money, or not get money, but if you wanted to like pursue it in a legal way, sue like the police department or sue them to get that money. So it's like, all right, like that way could be more. I don't want to say acceptable.
I mean, the bottom line is what I'm saying is I seriously hope Adidas has done their due diligence on this organization.
The Adidas thing.
and I know they haven't, right? But that's what I'm saying. It's like, coming off of BLM, right, where it was a total grift. I'm like, please tell me you guys have done your due diligence and this George Floyd team doesn't have family members that are getting paid $800,000 to be, like the marketing department that has no marketing experience. Like, please tell me that at least this money's going someplace good. Like the Defamation League's been around for freaking centuries, right? Or it seems like it's been around forever, right? So that one you're like, okay, it's probably got some legitimacy. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, oh man. And I think the other thing was they were saying that you could actually reach out to a web. They had an email address that you could, if you were an organization that was in need of some charitable funds, you could submit a request to be included into this, which I guess could be cool for a grassroots effort. But
that's what I was gonna say. Is like you said, the Jewish charity that I don't know the name of, but that one makes sense. Like this one, I don't know if it necessarily. Well, I guess because it was like
how checking boxes.
I don't know where that came, but it is a charity, so whatever,
Yes, so we'll, whatever. We'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Hopefully Adidas has done some due diligence and it's just not going to another one of these grifts, but who knows. But anyway, if you're, missing on the Yeezy action, there's an opportunity to score some things. And I'm kind of curious if it's going to be more hyped, like more people want this because it's kind of the final throws. Or if it's like people are like, I don't want that. It's Yeezy.
Well, let's go back a month to the whole Ja Morant situation. I'm sure you heard about the basketball player Ja Morant who plays for the Memphis Grizzlies.
Does he do with the gun in the
car? He had the gun on two different occasions. The media kind of was like, oh, you're so and so and you have to be held to a certain standard. And he apparently had a shoe deal with Nike. They kind of like didn't market it to like the mainstream, and they just kind of had it like still like announced on their app, which was like the Nike app.
It blew up just because
and it sold instantaneously. So it's like, when people see some sort of cancellation, or they might say, hey, this might be this guy's last run at something, they're gonna buy it just because there's gonna be people who are, I don't know if you want to call them how do you say it? Scalpers or whatever the fuck.
Scalpers.
Yeah, that are just going to buy it just to resell it. So yeah, not a doubt in my mind that these are not going to sell out. And like we always talk about, like first things first, like look and comfort. Both of these shoes, they have that. Like they're extremely. The look is great. The look's
will go down saying they're the best shoe.
They're one of the best shoes, and even you said it, like they could almost pass as like a multi-facet shoe of like. They're a street shoe, but at the same time, you can wear it to a corporate event, and people will, not say nothing about it.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I'm really hoping I get these solid blacks, because I have one pair of solid blacks that I literally have been wearing like all winter with work. I mean, it's and you can't. I mean, it comes across almost as a dress shoe.
Absolutely, no. So I think they're good, and like I said, like it's the same thing with Kanye when you separate his music from the actions that he done, and this is a very slippery slope because we can get into the whole argument of like, well, why didn't you guys say that about R. Kelly, or why don't you say that about Michael Jackson or something like that? It's like, it's a very slippery slope when you can't, when you're unable to differentiate the music, like his character versus the music. I know some people that still listen to R. Kelly's music because of how good the artist like side of him was, but because the shitty person.
Everybody still listens to Michael Jackson,
and everyone still listens to Michael Jackson. But I appreciate what Kanye did for the music and the design, like his like design ability to look at something and the creative side of it. Now, does that mean I agree with the anti-Semitic Jewish slander? Right. I guess no, that doesn't mean that at all. Right. So it's like people look at things as like it's either black or white. It's like, no, we could look at this as like that, but I just For the other two examples, I can't really get behind.
The one thing that does drive me a little crazy is there's nothing new here. You know what I mean? Like, how long has he been resting on the the 350s? And, the slides of everything's kind of been around for years, right? There's nothing new.
I think that might come from Adidas because if you remember, because they're trying to play it safe, they're trying to get it done. Because if you remember a while back, like maybe 2 years ago, there's a picture, an infamous picture of Kanye sitting in some sort of parking lot, in the middle of the parking lot, and there's shoes all around him. And there's like wild looking shoes, crazy tall boot looking ones and everything like that. But they never came out. These ones are the only ones that came out. So I don't know if it's Adidas saying that, hey, we need to play it safe and just recoup as much as we can, or if it's Kanye saying, don't put out anything that hasn't been like, you know what I mean? So because he had all the, like, I'm telling you, there was hundreds of pairs of prototype shoes.
He did release some of the crazy ass boots through the Gap thing.
And with Gap, I didn't see that.
Right, there was some of that hit Gap, I think.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. So maybe you might be right. I don't know.
Yeah, I think the boots. I want to say the boots. There was a couple boots that hit Gap. I thought, but
maybe.
I don't know how the licensing on that. Like maybe it was only basketball style shoes or slides, and anything like boots or ankle highs or all the other weird shit that he was doing was whatever he wanted to do with it.
And when we're talking about it, like, we're talking about it on a macro level, but from a micro level, like, could you imagine how many hands are truly in the pot when putting out something like that? Like, in this whole legal battle, there's probably so much going on that's like, they have to maneuver around so many different. So it's easier said than done, I'm sure, but that's probably a nightmare. I wouldn't even want to be involved with that at all.
Yeah, and I'm curious if he gets royalties on all this this next wave, right? Because I mean, I can't imagine they can sell the shoes without paying him off.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's one of the guys that I could speak for you when I said, like, I genuinely look forward to looking to see what comes out in the collection, where it's like a lot of these other guys will put shoes out and I don't even think to open up my app, you know?
Well, so I mean, honestly, until I got an email from Adidas saying, hey, if we're going to release the Yeezys and here's what we're doing and stuff like that, I hadn't been on the confirmed app since God knows how long.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably almost a year now, right? I mean, and I'm like, this is kind of exciting to me, but as soon as this is done, I won't be on.
Yeah, it's a very strange time that we're living in as far
as
their
mashups are all weird. Like the obviously stuff. They're doing like, it's like every high end, like they're doing Gucci and Prada.
I saw that, the Prada.
And it's
Adidas,
like just anybody and their mother wants to do a collab with them. Right? There's like a whole collab tab now. Gucci,
the Prada one was.
Human Race, which is
that's Pharrell, but that's like the same contract.
Bad Bunny, it's all like everybody's trying to get in on this collab thing now. But I mean, I know the Prada and the Gucci thing, and I'm like, and they're doing like Prada soccer cleats.
Well, that's what I was saying. So I think the Prada line is specifically like soccer, like that's all. But
I'm like, who the hell? I mean, I can't remember. They're like $900 soccer cleats. I'm like, who the hell is like? Oh God, people just have more money. They know what to do with. I mean, honestly, I'm like, I seriously like to think if I ever hit the fucking lottery, like for $1 billion, I wouldn't just go out and start buying. Like, you remember we were talking about the Hermes leather case for the iPods? It's $900. I'd like to be. I like to think that I wouldn't be the dumbass who would do it, but I guess at some point money becomes irrelevant, right? And it's like you and I going out and buying a $10 Amazon leather case. But I'm like, man,
it puts it in perspective. And I wanted to bring this up when me and Taylor were in Exton on Saturday for breakfast, and then we came back home. But on my way home, there was a white Rolls Royce next to us, and I was like petrified. I didn't want to fucking hit this thing because my car insurance, if I were to hit this thing, they would probably lose their mind. But I was just like, I just looked over, and the guy was just like talking on the phone, and I kind of looked in and I seen like the dash and everything. And I was like, this son of a bitch doesn't have CarPlay. I was like, my Honda.
Sure it does.
My Honda.
He just isn't using it.
No, I'm like, but my Honda has CarPlay. So I'm like, fuck this guy. My car is better than his. Little do I know his car is like $500,000 probably though. So
I'll tell you what. So that, I mean, you bring up CarPlay, which is really kind of interesting, especially when we talk about collabs and stuff like that, right? So General Motors, right, Chevrolet, Cadillac, all of those announced that basically effectively immediately they're no longer going to have CarPlay in their cars.
Why?
Because they're going to be basically creating their own Android-based system, and it's a fucking money grab, right? So they're looking to charge you a service fee. But they're getting rid of CarPlay, and I'm like to myself, and I am absolutely a General Motors guy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, every car that I think I've ever owned has been a General Motors car, and I'm like, you guys just lost me as a customer. I will never buy a car that doesn't have CarPlay.
No, that's the bro. What's up with these companies losing their fucking mind, bro?
don't know.
You know what I'm saying? Like the past year, 2023, all these guys just met in some sort of secret society and were like, let's fuck everything up, bro. Like, what's going on? Seriously, why would you get rid of CarPlay? Everyone and their mom in America, and I might be like a jackass for saying this, General Motors, right? Everyone has a fucking iPhone. I know Android has the predominance, but listen, everyone has an iPhone that, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense, dog.
Well, I mean, from their perspective, it makes total sense. They're trying to... That's revenue that now they're going to charge. They're basically going to charge. It's like OnStar, right? Yeah. They're going to charge you now to have that iPlay or CarPlay experience on the car, right? And people will end up paying it. But I mean, I'm like, you lost me as a customer.
No, seriously though, because
and that's saying something because I am hardcore Chevy, and I'm like done. Now you're
gonna buy a BMW with me?
I probably won't buy a BMW, but I'm luckily, I'm not in the mood to buy a new car, but if I do, I was like, so I'm looking at like the other day, I was like, I hate Ford, and here I am like,
no way,
check it out, man, I should get a Ford Raptor or something. And
dude,
I'm like,
those cars are badass.
Here, I'm like, holy shit, I am talking about buying a Ford because Ford's come out and said we're going to keep CarPlay.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? You people, like you said, do they even think?
No, they're not thinking, dog.
And this shit happen in a vacuum, and I'm sure it doesn't. I'm sure they've gone through the bean counting, and they say, you know what? We're going to lose 20% of our audience, but we're going to gain a revenue stream that will compensate for losing that 20% of revenue. And this, I mean, I know they've got it dialed in, but I'm like, you lost me, man. I'm out.
What do you like about General Motors? What cars do you like? You like the Jeep, the Chevy?
Yeah, I mean,
your two primarily.
I mean, obviously, I've had the electric cars, the Volts and the Bolts forever. Corvettes and Camaros.
What Corvette did you have?
Pickup trucks. I've had everything. Everything's always been a Chevy, pretty much a Chevy product.
Like what do you like? I don't remember you having a Corvette. Maybe when I was young.
So I mean, obviously, I'm a car freaking ridiculous idiot, right? And I couldn't even probably tell you all the cars I've had.
Really?
So I mean, oh god, the last time I had a Corvette was I had a 2000 Corvette for a couple of years.
Nice.
And then obviously a bunch of Camaros.
Yeah, what do you think about the new ones, the new Corvettes? Do you like those or nah? They're kind of getting rid of that. They're kind of getting more towards like the European.
The Ferrari.
Yeah, the McLaren copycat, like the
McLaren. Yeah, it's probably more of a McLaren copycat. I mean, I think it's cool, but I mean, it's
I like Corvettes. I like the older ones. My buddy John, who's been on the podcast, his dad has I think it's a 78 Stingray.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see up until like the C8 came out, right? So 2019. It'll be interesting to see if at some point they kind of go real full circle and have a real high resale value because everybody wants that classic V8, American muscle car where, the new one, I think the new one's a V6, right? Is it?
Yeah, the Z06?
The new C8.
Oh, C8. Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe it's not. Maybe it is still a V8, but it's not the same kind of V8 sort of thing.
Yeah, they're they're discontinuing a lot of cars. Like I know that we just talked about like General Motors and stuff, but even like Mario's car, the Charger, they're getting rid of those. They're discontinuing like the Hellcats and stuff like that. Like this year, I think 2023 or 2024.
I mean, they're discontinuing them because the government's nailing them on the. So every company has to maintain a certain average gas mileage rating. They look at all their cars and they aggregate their average miles per gallon and they have to beat a number. And it's like, I don't know, it's like 35 miles to the gallon on average across the entire portfolio. So obviously a Hellcat that gets like 10 miles to the freaking gallon is crushing that. So what they're doing is they're killing off the Hellcats, but they're going to they'll probably end up re-releasing them as some sort of an electric or a hybrid that has the gas mileage that still has the 800, 900 horsepower performance, right? So
I wonder how that's going to work.
It's a shell game, and it's moving some things around, but and those cars will always be desirable just because again, it's
they're so nice
muscle,
and they hold that value too. I feel like. I feel like you go on to cars.com or something like that, and you just go look through, and that's the same way as like we were just talking about BMW, but The M3, I feel like no matter what model, what year, it's holding its value incredibly. I don't know why. What about those cars? Maybe it's just look into some like
limited
some
production, and you know that's desire, right? I mean,
yeah, those cars are sick, dude. I want one of those cars so bad.
Cars are really messed up, though. I mean, the whole shit with like announcing cars, like the Hummer that I ordered, right?
Yeah.
It's now what? It's 2.5 years since I think I
Yeah,
put that.
it has been a while, hasn't it?
And not even a blip that I'll ever see it. And at this point, I've you know, it's kind of lost all the desirability. I'm like, even if they call me and said, "Hey, your Hummer's here," I'd be like, "Yeah, you know, I think you guys missed the window here." I mean, I know it's still a hot car, but I'm like,
yeah, no, you would.
it's kind of a yawn fest now. I mean, you know,
I don't know. I think around here, that car, just because no one has
would
it,
be the bomb.
No, yeah, you would stick out like a sore thumb. Like, no one has nothing remotely close to that. I feel like, and then until you get closer, like towards like Philly, that Westchester area, you would definitely be that guy. But,
yeah, I don't think I've seen one in this area.
No. Probably not.
But so I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's a problem.
Cars
problem
are
to
such a pain in the ass thing, because it's like, like people that genuinely like cars, you know, you're getting it as like a hobby type thing, but you also like it. But then it's like at the same time, it's like you talk to anyone who's like financially literate at all, they're like, don't buy a fucking car. Don't buy a sports car. Worst thing. Yeah, it's the worst thing in the world.
So I mean, look, for the youngins out there, that was the worst mistake I ever made in my life. Right? If I could go back and maybe undo something, it would be the fact that I literally had a new car every 2 friggin' years on average. Right? And awful life decision. Mm-hmm. Awful life decision. And I've actually slowed down a little bit now, but
still though, like,
it's an awful decision.
It is an awful decision to a degree. I feel like if it makes you happy though, go for it. Not like maybe buy one every 2 years, like you're saying, but
I mean, you know,
if you want to have one, keep it or whatever. You know, rock out if it's going to make you happy.
Yeah, I mean, if you can afford it, great.
That too.
It's not a sound financial decision, right? You are going. I mean, obviously, this last couple, like say, last 5 years, with a lot of these limited edition cars and a lot of that shit and the supply chain and stuff like that, it's been a little bit of a different conversation, because there's times where you literally could buy a car and drive it for 2 years and basically sell it for almost what you paid for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is true.
But that's you can't count on that going forward, and that's not the way it was before. It was like the second you bought a car and rolled off the lot, it was worth 20% less than what you paid for it that day. As soon as you drove it 2 miles, it was worth 20% less.
You talked about that with the Jeep before this one. It's like you got the same, basically like it was like $2,000 less or something, like a really low threshold.
Jeeps have always been the exception. So even before the supply chain stuff, right, they always had a high resale value. Like, I think they said like after 3 or 4 years, it still had 70% of its value, which is kind of unheard of. Usually it's in the 40s or something like that. Sure. But yeah, so I think that Jeep I paid out the door pre-COVID was...
But you still maintained it though.
Yeah, I think I paid like $51 for it, and I ended up selling it for $47, like 3 years later or something like that, or was it 4 years? It was, but I mean, it was
still like crazy enough to where like you kept the value of it.
Yeah, but I mean,
like
that's
the very end.
like super rare. It's not. I mean, that's not the norm.
Well. Yeah, we could talk about cars forever until the end of time. I love cars, man. Some guys are really fucking into it, and they know all the cylinders and everything like that. But
yeah,
from like a surface level, man, I genuinely enjoy the cars. I feel like I could splurge on a car versus like I'm not really like into like boats or nothing like that. I would get a car.
Be thankful. Boats are even worse.
Yeah, right.
That's a money pit. That's the ultimate muddy pit there.
Did you hear anything? So a couple weeks ago, we talked about FazeClan. We talked about how their stock value it started off at like 20 and went down to 50 cents or something like that. Well, recently there's been a whole online drama with FazeClan. I'll read off a series of tweets just to kind of catch you up to speed, because it is a lot. I'll give you a backstory as well. So Faze started off by just a group of guys like ourselves, just came together, made an organization called Faze. They used to do trick shots, a lot of gaming stuff back in the day. and they eventually sold part of their company or made it more of like a corporate business, started getting like a marketing department or getting other things, making it more official.
Yep.
With that came a lot of growing pains, though. Like there's like a stock split amongst the group, and then a whole slew of problems came. So they announced recently that they're starting to sign on celebrities and not rather get gamers into it. They're getting like just like, oh, look who's joining our team. It's this person, this person, this person. The most recent one was a girl by the name of Grace Van Dien, who is a star of Stranger Things. And one of the older Phase members, Phase Rain, was like, you guys are only doing this to get like popularity to the name and not actually catering to the guys like us who started it. And and now it's a big problem for them because they're just basically saying how it's disingenuous, how this isn't how things should be done. And yeah, it's just like I don't know, it just kind of spiraled out of control, to say the least. But
well, I mean, what you're describing, I think, is, I mean, you could almost say,
I won't even read it, but it's,
I mean, it's kind of like Elon Musk with PayPal, right? I mean, at some point it became less his and
more other people's,
more corporate, blah blah blah, and and he's like, I'm done.
But it is the true definition of a double-edged sword, because you're growing the brand, you're growing the business, but at the same time you're losing.
You sold out for the money, and then you get pissed because the money wants redemption, and it's like, what do you mean? I wanted the billions of dollars, but I also wanted to be a total tool and just do whatever the hell I wanted.
Exactly. So
that's not how that works. Right?
So now they're claiming that they want part of the shares back.
Well, what'll end up happening is, I guess these guys that are complaining,
the OG guys, you could say,
they'll all leave, and then they'll try and form
another thing,
and that's kind of how it.
I wonder if
works.
they'll do that, or if they'll try to just buy back their company. Because if they try to buy it back, then they will have like all the rights still, because the name is truly bigger than what they are at this point, I would say. And
I mean, I guess it's a possibility, but then most of the times they can't afford to buy it back because
it's probably so expensive. It's bigger than them at this point.
If it's publicly traded, even at 50 cents a share, it probably has a significant market cap, more than they probably have in
liquid
assets, right? So they'd have to get a VC company, and it's just you're trading one master for another, right?
Sure, yeah.
That's why a lot of times they just completely just walk away from it.
And it is one of those things where it's like, it's just like I hate to say it, but it's like a learning experience, because a lot of these guys are like 25, 26, 27.
Yep.
So it's like, they just thought, oh, we're growing our business, we get to cash out a little bit, but at the same time, these older guys that are coming in, they know like the business game, and they're kind of finessing that system and exercising their muscles a little bit more than I guess the younger group know how to to what to do with. And that's just like a terrible situation, because you got to feel bad. Like, they were the ones that grew the brand to what it is today.
Yeah, I mean, I can only imagine that it's like if someone walked through the door and said, "Hey, we'll give you $1 million to have 50% ownership in your podcast," we'd probably be like, "Shit,
yeah,
where do I sign up?" Right? And you immediately sign some paper, and what it basically says is, if you don't perform, we can buy the other 50% for like pennies on the dollar or something. There's always like
loopholes or some shit.
You just have to be surrounded by, I guess, the right people, all across the board, right?
Yeah.
You can't be just, hey, your buddy. You gotta have financial people that you seriously trust and do their due diligence. I can only imagine. I mean,
yeah, it's really hard. It's really hard to negotiate or navigate through the times of, like, I get just in business in general. If you have like little to no experience, and I imagine these guys just grew up playing Call of Duty, they didn't have that business intel.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
I doubt it.
Yeah. So yeah, it sucks, but it is what it is. I wanted to talk to. Well, did you have any other closing thoughts on that?
No, go ahead. You can fire.
Adobe Photoshop just came out last week. Dude, this is getting out of hand at this point. AI generative fill on Photoshop. So it's taking away the jobs of
editors.
But listen, like, this is truly scary, because this is like how people that don't know how to work Photoshop probably thought how it worked the whole time, where it's like you just drag, click, and then just type in what you wanted to do, and it'll literally give you 3 options of exact replicas of what you wanted to do. So for example, we took a picture of your Jeep out there, right? We take a picture of it, and we're like, all right,
you basically say, give me the Jeep without the doors.
Give me the Jeep without the doors. Put 2 people in the front seat and change the color. And we're talking within 5 seconds, Joe.
Oh my God.
Yeah, bro, it's insane. So like within 5 to 10 seconds, it could do all of that stuff and it'll color code it too. So it'll color correct everything, adjust to the lighting, adjust to the shadow. It's insane. It's scary. Truly is scary.
Holy mackerel.
Yeah. I mean, but with that being said, there will still be a job for graphic designers, I feel like, because it's the same thing right now. Like if you were to go on Photoshop today and you're someone who knows relatively about technology and knows of the things about it, and you were to like spend an hour, you could probably get the basic understanding of what's going on. It's just the fact that people won't spend the time to learn that new skill because they're just like, oh, I could just offload that responsibility to someone else. So it's like, I think the graphic designers are going to still have that job. It's just maybe going to be a little bit more competitive for them, but you're not going to have like someone, I feel like, just pick up Photoshop right away to learn it.
Yeah, God, the weird thing is though, like I kept thinking in my head, like the creatives aren't going to get replaced, right? Because all AI is doing is just basically reinventing or repurposing something that's already been done, right? But you still need somebody to kind of create the initial creativeness, you know what I'm saying? But I'm wondering now if like the barrier of entry to being creative is just so low that, even if you come up with some sort of style or design, it's just going to be immediately ripped off and or integrated into somebody else. It's going to be really wild.
Yeah, and I agree with what you're saying. Like there is going to be, I'm going to look up the generative fill so I could show you real quick. There's going to be...
Do they charge extra for that, or is it just built into the...
It's just built in. Wow. So like Photoshop's relatively expensive as it is. It's like $30 a month, I think, for like all this suite.
Right.
Or 30 to 50, I think. If you're a student, 30. If you're anyone else, it's 50. So it is relatively expensive. So that barrier to entry is a monetized thing. But if you get like one person a month to give you like $50, like, hey, I'll make a logo for you for $50. You're basically in. So I'll show you a quick video and then we could go from here. Give that one a watch. And sorry for the people that can't see, but...
So it's 2 girls at a wedding, and
there's a curb in there.
Oh yeah, there's like a yellow painted curb, and oh man, that is freaking crazy.
And they typed in remove yellow curb,
and it totally like edited her dress. Yes. And like, oh my God, like she has a flowing dress. Oh, she didn't even have a flowing dress,
and now it made one that looks better than the picture.
Holy shit. Yeah.
I was doing it with a paintbrush and removing all the saturation, so I just typed it into this little AI Photoshop box to see what would happen.
Yeah, because normally you would have had to have like highlighted it with a pen or a loop tool, and then actually sort of feather the. I mean, it's
you would have to go pay.
Like if you had the skill, there was a skill, and you get paid for it. But now, oh man, that's literally like 2 seconds, and it was gone. The whole curve
and it gives you 3 options that are arguably better than. And you could also. So this is another example, and this will be like the last thing. So take a look at that. So there's a picture of a girl, and in the background there's a picture of a building. She wants to get rid of the building entirely.
Wow.
With that being said, she highlights the building. And
so she's sitting on a grass lawn with a huge ass flowing white dress, and in the background is kind of like a shack, like where you would have like food trucks and like benches and stuff like that, and he's basically just asking it to remove it, and it repaints the entire background like it's completely perfect in seconds.
Color coordinates it and everything too. Isn't that kind of cool? Yeah, just came out.
Oh my God! So and that's going to make its way into like Apple Photos and.
Oh my God! Yeah.
So I guess it already is. I mean, there are apps that do that, but even those apps, I think you still have to kind of go through an exhaustive process.
It's not doing it to that level though.
That you don't even touch it.
Yeah,
like,
that level.
Normally you have to like highlight it. You just basically say, "Hey, get rid of the dolphins in the background," or add dolphins to my whale boating pictures of nothing.
Yeah, so that's it's just scary because
you won't know what the hell is real and what's not.
1 week ago, the general public couldn't access something like that. A very select few, I should say, could access something like that. Now it's going out to the masses of like people like myself, yourself could get on Photoshop, type that in, and you're basically a a proficient Photoshop user. You know what I mean?
God, so I mean, like, a lot of those, like, I'm just thinking in my head, like, a lot of the auto blogging guys got started by basically renting Lamborghinis because they couldn't afford it out of the gate, right? And they would be shown like taking pictures next to it and stuff like that.
You can make one.
You could literally just take a picture. Like, I could go to Las Vegas, right, and go by the sign and just say add a red Ferrari into my picture.
Just took a trip to.
Oh my God! I mean, how would you know? I mean, it'd be like, oh wow.
There's so many examples that we could.
Now the saying a picture's worth 1,000 words is not going to be true, right? Because it's got. Oh my God! Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's truly remarkable the stuff that they're coming out with, and like, there's going to be a time where that's going to, and we've already seen this, where they start implementing that into your banking, and like the charge I had with Photoshop today, or with PayPal today, the AI will see like, oh, he didn't use anything, or maybe he didn't have this, or it's a reoccurring thing. Maybe they'll just kind of cancel it and deal with it amongst themselves. You know what I mean? And there could be something where it's like, this thing's helping me out, or I give the AI $100. Hey, go invest this into a series of slews of stocks.
I know American Express has that built into, because they'll actually call me whenever there's a weird charge on my account.
Oh, yeah?
So they have some predictive AI. I don't know if it's crazy level, but I mean they've always had it. Like if they see that I'm putting charges on my card in Philadelphia, and 5 minutes later there's a charge in Washington something, they'll be like, wait a second, that doesn't make any sense. And it's not an online thing. It's like it's a food mart or something like that. I mean, I've literally gotten calls where they said, you're not in you're not in Seattle right now, are you? I'm like, what are you talking? No, because we have a charge for. It was actually it was one of those cheesy ass food stores, TGIF, for like $24.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, no, I'm not in Washington.
I wonder
how do you
think they got your credit card though? Isn't that kind of creepy though? Like, you always wonder how these things happen.
I'm guessing they're tracking their own. I mean, they're probably tracking American Express charges, and they know I live in Philadelphia, and they probably. I mean, I'm guessing like if I fly to Canada, right? They saw that I had a flight to Canada.
Yeah, it makes sense. There's a paper trail behind you.
Yeah. I'm
talking about the guy in TGIF. How did he get your contact?
Oh
no, what happened?
Oh shit! If I had to guess, I'd say the battery died because I forgot to recharge it. Shit.
Oh, good. What are we at, by the way?
So 41 minutes. I guess we could cut it early if you want.
Yeah, we could.
And then so the audio will probably, or the video will. It's going to be audio only for a few minutes.
But yeah, I think the way, like a couple months ago, we didn't hear nothing about this AI. Now it's coming out, and I'm sure in your corporate world, everyone's talking about it in calls, or no, not really?
We actually got a corporate mandate on how to use
AI?
ChatGPT.
Oh,
right?
yeah?
And I didn't really read it because I wasn't using it, but it's funny you say it because I had a request, like I'm working with a distributor for our product, and I said, hey, I want to get into this, to visit this partner that we haven't been able to like penetrate or get, gain access to. And he goes, yeah, I can help you, but just send me a blurb on what your company does. And I'm like, yeah, it seems like such a simple request, but I don't really have anything. So I went on ChatGPT just to mess around. I said, what does Raritan and Server Technology do? And it gave me a paragraph, but it was freaking spot on, man. And I'm like, oh my God.
Now they have an app too, so you can do it on the fly.
Yeah. So I actually saved it and I shared it with a bunch of my colleagues, and I said, I don't know if anybody's got a boilerplate verbiage thing on what we do, but here's what ChatGPT came up with, and they're all like, ooh, that's crazy, right?
That is crazy, yeah.
And but there was a whole thing about how to use it, and I probably should go back and read it and talk about it on the next podcast. But there was like rules, like we're not supposed to do. I think it had more to do with we're not allowed to share intel, right? Any like
to the ChatGPT,
any features that we're like behind the scenes developing that aren't publicly announced. You can't bring that into the ChatGPT because it remembers it, like.
Yeah,
we're designing the new XYZ airplane that's got 3 tail wings or 3 wings instead of 2, right? Some weird thing,
and they're going to remember.
And you can't incorporate that. You can't like say, "Hey, ChatGPT, I'm building an airplane with 3 wings. Can you, show me a picture or design it in or whatever it is?" Because then it remembers that, and if someone else gains access or asks about a 3-wing airplane, right?
Yeah.
They'll say, yeah, server tech's got, whatever your company name is. And so that was the rule. It was something about you couldn't share any internal intel.
Because if I were to guess, because it's not about it gets saved to like some sort of database, it gets saved to your personal account. But if I got access to your account, then I could see and ask it all these questions, gaining like, hey, can you recite that private conversation that we've had?
I'm sure.
So and it's a third party company, so it's not like the people that you work for can have any jurisdiction over who's logging in and who's not logging in. I would imagine that's probably the problem.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It was, but there was a mandate about it, and I was like, okay, yeah. So I mean, it's coming.
It is
how to
coming,
use it, but it's interesting. The use cases are just, oh man, they're
we should
crazy.
like release like one T-shirt like from top to bottom, like of just all like AI, like, hey, generate a concept for a shirt. Also, can you make a description about the shirt? Can you also detail the color palette that we should use? And then maybe on the Photoshop, I'll use a generative fill of like, hey, make a design with this concept and see what it comes up with, and just do like a test. Maybe make it just like entry level price, keep it relatively like affordable, and see what happens.
Yeah, interesting. Throw in the butterfly effect and see what happens.
Yeah, just see what it comes up with. Because there was a couple things that I did with it, just messing around. So we'll see. But yeah, so I mean, I don't have anything else to talk about.
No, I mean, obviously now that we're back to a week, all of a sudden it's like, we can't fill an hour as easily.
Yeah,
there's not a lot to talk about. I just saw you, man.
Yeah,
Come on.
Exactly, we did see each other yesterday. That was Memorial Day.
Oh, we probably should have a fight online about Cornhole Rules, and get the audience to chime in. Whoever's listening, your rules are horseshit.
Whoever's listening, if you play Cornhole, which is up to 21, and you go over the threshold, which is 21, do you reset back to 15 or 13, or do you just say whoever went over 21 technically wins the game? All right, and just let us know what you think.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
Yeah, because well, we won't say who's on what side, but I follow the official Cornhole rules, so I'll leave it at that.
All right, that sounds good.
Not the backyard horseshit things.
Make sure to check out the color changing tees, still available on our website, exmnds.com. I don't know why you're pointing it to the camera. There's no camera there. It's
here I am styling and profiling one, and the camera's off.
Yeah, but so if you go outside,
dumbass didn't charge it.
The white design turns into a magenta pink.
Pinkish,
so it looks cool. So
it really is. Best shirts ever.
Best shirts ever. Quality's great.
My favorite.
Raving reviews. So
I'm not a fan of the white on white though. It was funny. I was wearing that yesterday.
Yeah, you were wearing it yesterday.
And it's the first time I really kind of worn it, and I was like, I don't, because when it disappears completely, and
you're just wearing a white tee.
Like a white tee.
I kind of like that though. It's like incognito.
It is, but I was like, that's when you walk inside, it's like, what the hell? It's gone. Right?
Yeah, you're wearing a white tee.
Or at least the black one, right? It's a white exclusive
graphic.
lines.
Yeah, I got that.
And then when you go outside, it's pink, so you constantly see it. But with the white on white, it's a little odd, but it's cool. I still
if you like white tees.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for listening.
Awesome. Thanks all. And peace out. We'll see you on episode 56 in sometime, whenever.
Perfect.
Go Yeezy on May 31st. I need to be in the drawing. Bye.
You're getting all the competition to go.
Yeah, later.